goodness. All right. Here I am. Welcome in for part 2 of our, I'm going to put my jumper on. Sorry, I'm hot and cold right now. I was up until like 4 a.m. doing ground applications last night, and then I had a day at the beach with my godson, and I probably got a bit too much sun, and the water down here is so much cooler than what I'm used to by like probably like 6 degrees, it feels like, anyway. And I forget what it's called when when the moon's closest to Earth. Is that perihelion or ephelion? Anyway, my menstrual cycle very much goes with the moon cycle, and so it's been rather heavy this month. So I'm just a little bit gassed. But we're here for part 2 of the Twin Flame collective reading. And what we're doing, so the first reading, and I'll link part 1 in the description, or sorry, in the comments down below. So part 1, we looked at balancing the root chakra, the sacral chakra, the navel chakra, and the heart center. And I have kept out our card for the heart center, and we are going to re-pull for the second part of the reading and go heart to head, essentially. If we want to talk about things from a physical perspective. Now, my computer isn't plugged in and my screen goes dead, meaning that I actually can't see what I'm doing. I know that I'm recording because a green light's on and a blue light is on. However, I have absolutely no idea whether when I'm showing you the cards, whether you see them or not. Plus, I'm a little bit further back from the camera than I normally am. Okay, so the left side represents the divine masculine. If the bottom of the card is turned in, then the card is upright, or, well, let's just see how we go. Like, I'm like, all right, give me a second here to ground in. I just had a really big day, and then I ran myself a bath. I've got banana bread that I'm trying to get done so that when the family gets home from church, they've got a bedtime snack. Okay, so at the heart center, the card that we had was evolution. Oh, shit. I think I might still have a face mask on. I do, but it's not too bad. All right, sorry about that. I put an alpha hydroxy beta hydroxy face mask on, and I realized I have not, because I was gonna have the bath first and then do the reading, and then I'm like, oh, but the natural light is better. So anyway, hopefully I'm not covered in, my face is sticky. I am covered in face mask. All right, evolution at the heart center. So what we're talking about here is, look, the heart-centered energy, like we have an involution and an evolution. That's not normally how I describe it, but when we think of our toroidal field, we're drawing things in and we're spitting things out. And part of what the twin flame journey is about is bringing ourselves back to what I'm going to call true love. But I don't mean love from like a relationship perspective. I mean it from like a very metaphysical, I guess sometimes we call it like unconditional love, but even that is like still not exactly what that love is, right? Christ consciousness is what a lot of people call it, whether they believe in, the Christian God or not. Christ consciousness really does embody what that unconditional love, what we mean by that. And all right, so let's just start off here with the divine masculine and look at the active masculine aspects of the evolution. Now, just so we can pick up from kind of where we were last time, for the divine masculine, I don't actually remember the cards that we got. But it was something around like betrayal and heartbreak, or I believe it was like a swords card, and it was the Three of Swords. I pulled a whole bunch of clarifiers for the masculine just to sort of tease apart that message. And for the feminine, it was more about the fruits of divine love, or like not divine, the fruits of Christ consciousness, right? And it was the Three of Cups, and it was in a challenge position. And then we had pulled clarifiers like the devil, but then a very nice, beautiful message about how the feminines were evolving past that. So now we're 2 days later. This is a November reading. I want to expand further on this evolution of the heart center, but instead of just with respect to the lower chakras, this time with respect to our upper level chakra healing. For those of you that are familiar, like the solar plexus really does act like a pump between the lower level and the upper level chakras. So the solar plexus is a natural sort of breaking point for looking at energy flow there. I don't know why I bothered saying that. Okay. So we have for the masculine here the Seven of Swords. So sevens are a really difficult energy, right? Because the seven is where the three aspects of fire, which I'm trying to do this without pulling so much on Sanskrit or Christian theology. Let's just relate it back to astrology. So in astrology, we have cardinal signs, which sort of stand energy up. We've got fixed signs that sort of hold that energy in place. And then we've got mutable signs who are able to sort of change that energy into the next phase. And then we go through that cycle again. So those are sort of the three ways that energy transforms, or the opposite side, so we've got creation, destruction, and sustaining, essentially. So the sevens are where that, it's like the transmission, right? It's where we now push that force onto the four elements, and discounting the fifth element, right? Which is prana, which is the three elements there are three transformational energies that we just spoke about. And so as we're growing on our divine path, it can be very difficult to understand how that works, right? We've got to consider, okay, like which element am I in right now? Which element am I transforming? Which way is the energy transforming? Is it transforming towards standing something new up, creating something new? Is it trying to hold and bind everything together? Or are we now in a place where we're able to sort of dissolve things and change them around? So The Seven of Swords card is it's our intellectual card. It's an air card. It can be lying, cheating, stealing. So I'm not really feeling that that is the message for this collective. In fact, the other way to read the Seven of Swords card, and I will draw some messages here relating specifically to this deck, but in the traditional Rider Waite, the Seven of Swords card, the other meaning is stealing the swords from the enemy's camp so that we don't have to go to war, right? Or removing the ability of the other side to come against us. And so with respect to a twin flame journey and becoming a divine masculine, or for our feminines, balancing our divine masculine energy, we're being asked here to evolve the way that we attend to the elements and the transformation. And I was going to pull more cards. Like, I originally intended on pulling more cards, but I do feel like I have given that a very thorough explanation. Actually, no, let's take a look at why. Oh, I said I was going to read more specifically from this card. And here is our why. So you can see in this card, or maybe you can't, I am using the Lightseer's Tarot. If you want to take a look at the cards, and if you can't see them from this distance. So in this Seven of Swords card, we have crow here. And the crow is like, caw, caw. Don't ask me to do my sound effects twice. And there's sort of feathers like flying everywhere. Feathers are a sign of like lightness, and feathers are used in a lot of sacred ceremony as sort of being the pinnacle of the mastering the element of air. Crows are often seen as messengers of darker energy and darker forces. And I have no qualms about just being super comfortable. Like, we are who we are, and, you know, we have to embrace that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get up to this card, because this is Black Kali. I am not Black Kali. I am Berve, which is red Kali. But I do convene with the birds. And yeah, crows in particular. I've always gotten a lot of messages and information from. Now, part of my spiritual evolution has been, you know, learning to turn that to God and confirm those messages. And that's been part of my sort of spiritual transformation and evolution over the last year and a half. But with these feathers sort of flying here, the message is that the reason why the divine masculine has to pay attention to how the prana is moving in the elements, the 3 plus the 4, is because they need to be able to assess here what are the darker messages that are coming through and what messages are of the light. Now, just because we get messages, and yeah, like moving beyond duality, like right and wrong, good and bad, light and dark, moving beyond this sort of duality and coming into a new frame of reference requires us to be able to see to, attend to, and manage both sides of the equation, let's say. All right, moving on to the Divine Feminine. I'm kind of laughing because this is not at all where I thought that this message might be going. All right. Moving on to the feminine side. For the feminines at the heart center, we have the Page of Swords. So the Page of Swords is asking us to, in the divine feminine aspect, with respect to our receptive energy, to intellectually evaluate what it is that we're receiving before we let that affect our heart center. All right, so essentially we should combine, watch part 1, click over, watch part 2, which is this video, and integrate those messages of evolution at the heart center. And now we move into sort of the new content. Although, of course, other than our oracle card, these were new cards drawn. So now we talk about the throat center. And the card that we've pulled is transformation. And what's really interesting is the girl in the painting actually has her hands sort of between her heart, kind of where I've got them here, right? Like it's covering my heart, it's covering my chest, and it's moving up to my throat chakra. Going inwards and being present with wherever you are in your process. Sorry, it says go inwards and be present with wherever you are in your process. Feel whatever you need to feel. It may be hard to be present with some parts of yourself. Bring them into a cocoon of gentle love and reflection. Now there is more here, and I may or may not read it. Let's just see. On to the divine masculine side. With the divine masculine, we have the Page of Swords in reverse and the Queen of Pentacles in reverse. So the Queen of Swords in reverse is a lack of clarity. It's scrambled internal thinking. With the Queen of Wands in reverse, this is a lack of stability, a lack of grounding, a lack of being settled, not having resources. It can say to me that the masculine at this point in time, with these cards being in reverse, is not speaking this. Like, this is something that the masculine actually needs to sort of speak on, but hasn't taken this time to go inwards and be present with wherever they are in their process. Maybe they actually need that time to be able to go inward. Maybe they are not in a place where they are able to think. Or maybe they're unable to think their way to that more grounded place. I feel the energy is sort of working both sides here. And what's interesting is that for the masculine side, which is our active energy, we've pulled 2 feminine cards. So it tells me that the masculine is being too receptive in this state and not vocal enough. I just looked down here at this card of transformation, and it says cry or be angry. If this is what you're holding on to, laugh at the irony and the divine perfection of it all. So really, with the masculine energy here, the divine masculines and the men watching the reading are being asked to figure out why they're in a feminine or a receptive energy, and consider how it is that they can move into their more masculine way. They need to embody the masculine energy, and I believe that that's what is lacking here. For the divine feminines, we have the Emperor and the Ten of Pentacles. Well, I mean, I don't. Let's see if I can get some more messages. I mean, I've got to say what's coming out here. It seems like the feminine. Okay, so this is like, again, sort of the opposite. I was gonna say this is the divine feminine saying, like, I want an emperor. Where's my Ten of Pentacles, sort of thing. And this is, a card of family and togetherness and abundance and security and stability and all of those sorts of earthly grounded things. So, again, with the masculine card here on the feminine side, the feminines are being asked to go inwards and, to cry and be angry and to journey beyond your constructed outer self, where you can delve into the beautiful abyss of your being. So it seems to me that the feminine aspect is, acting more out of their masculine side. I mean, what did I just say about I was up until 4 a.m. doing grant proposals, very much acting in my masculine side. Now, obviously at work and as an executive, that is something that I have to do. And, you don't own a business and push that forward without being in your masculine side sometimes. However, that's interesting. Okay. So I have just related this to my work. So, and like I said, I'm like thinking about where that energy is. I have to do that at work. But that's not something that I have to do at home and necessarily within the constructs of a romantic connection. So the divine feminines are really being asked to make sure that where they're operating in their divine masculine and in divine feminine. Now, this was upright. These didn't come out in reverse. It's, I guess, one of the messages that I'm getting here, and of course the Eight of Pentacles isn't here, is that say it once, say it, mean it, confirm that it's understood, and then move on, right? With this family card here, I want to have a family with you. I would like for you to stand up or come to my family's Christmas, or invite me to your family's Christmas, or whatever the situation is here. Maybe to get out of that nitpicking energy, or like a rehashing and rehashing and rehashing. It also calls on us to give our voice power with the Emperor here and the Ten of Pentacles. Give ourselves the voice and power that we need, like I said, where appropriate. If we don't come at it from a wounded feminine perspective, and we're able to, when we come at things from a wounded feminine perspective, then sometimes we won't be heard, right? So if we can come at things from a grounded feminine perspective, then we'll only have to say things once, and then we can attune ourselves to the other aspects of balancing our energies that we need. Yeah, okay, so that's the throat chakra. Next, we have the third eye. The third eye chakra is our ability to see and understand, to perceive vibration. It's our psychic sense. It's where we know without understanding how we know. So it is a very, and I wouldn't even want to, I guess it is in some ways maybe subconscious, but I feel like it's even deeper than that, because I think that there's elements that happen there that aren't physical. So at the third eye center, for both the masculines and the feminines, we have the Earth card, and it says, nurture nature. No one could hold you the way nature can. Mama Nature is a powerful healer and transmuter of dense energies. She takes in your out-breath and transforms your woes if you allow yourself to surrender, to lie in her grassy arms or be embraced by her branches. All experiences, those categorized or good or bad, are part of the natural cycle that allows for the continuation of life. Trying to suppress or control will only bring you out of harmony. Nature is all around you. Notice her. When you feel like no one else can hold you, she can. Okay, for the divine masculine, we have the Five of Pentacles and the Hermit. The Five of Pentacles, and what's interesting that the Five of Pentacles is showing up here is because as I was shuffling our card of transformation, just King of Pentacles in reverse at the bottom of the deck. So these were our cards that I was going to be using to clarify, although I haven't really need any clarifying cards yet. The Five of Pentacles card is the card that popped out. I wasn't thinking about either the masculine or the feminine perspective, but now it's sort of resounded here with the masculine. I'm not saying it doesn't apply to the feminine. So the Five of Pentacles card, let's just call it our trauma card, right? It is where we feel, I think I don't remember which reader. I've actually been in a state for like the last 3 days where I just haven't like wanted to watch, because I do follow a lot of other readers online, and I just haven't felt interested in watching anybody else's readings right now. I've got like other things to focus on, and I've clicked on a couple readings and I'm just like, like it's either shit I already know, downloads I've already had, dreams I've already had. So I just feel like I'm not getting a whole lot of value from it right now. I don't know why I'm talking about that. Oh, because somebody, and I don't remember who, says the Five of Pentacles is our broke, busted, and disgusted card. And if I knew who it was that said that, then I would, I'd let you know. But yes, the Five of Pentacles is our broke, busted, and disgusted card. I'm going to say it's our unhealed childhood wounds card. And a lot of these twin flame readings are essentially that, right? We can't come into our divine energy, our divine essence, and start walking with our angel wings on if we haven't healed these traumas and these wounds. So the masculine energy here is really pulling into this more hermit role in order to pull themselves back and contemplate. And I think the things that they would assist them in this contemplation are these aspects of nature, right? We gain a lot of like humility, humanity, and understanding of this cycle of life when we watch nature. Another download that I got, and I don't know why I'm sharing this, you know, sometimes I'll just see, I don't know whether it was yesterday or the day before, you know, those animal rescue, and like, I'm gonna start crying. Those animal rescue videos. This one was like a dog from Thailand, and like the dog that they rescued was like just in such a bad state, right? Skin and bones and emaciated and full of like cuts and scratches and lice and mange and probably worms as well. And this couple rescued that dog, and yeah, those videos to me are like really transformative. Like, they just, you know, I've seen that, right? I've been to those countries, I've seen those dogs, and I myself rescued one when I was in India. It gets us back in touch with our own humanity again. And when we come back to that place of humanity, we drop back into our heart center. And so this period of trying to heal these childhood wounds by going into reflection, like the hermit still needs the tools, right? We can climb the mountain and seclude ourselves as often as we want, but if we still lack the tools for transformation, then we're just wasting our lives, right? And so yeah, for the masculine energy, it's asking yourselves to pull into that, to drop back down to the heart center, to gain these tools of evolution needed so that the time away when you go and do your healing work is prosperous. For the divine feminine, we have got the Eight of Pentacles and Justice. So, working on balancing the scales, perfecting what justice means. Well, I'll share something from my life that like where this is relevant. So I have a pretty bad betrayal trauma that happened to me a couple of years ago. And, you know, on the one hand, I have some friends who are like, you know, give it to God, give it to God, give it to God. I've got some friends that I don't trust. You know, more of those like in their hurt feminine, right? Like, fuck that guy, blah blah, you know, like, and neither of those are the correct answer for me. Like, both of those seem like they're on the extreme end of the spectrum. And so for the last probably 8 months, a little bit less, I don't know, 6 months, I have been really working on perfecting how I understand and apply justice in that situation. And I won't go into any of the details about that, but again, we're being asked to find a way to drop into our heart center about this situation and think again about nature and the cycle of life and the just all of those themes that we all share, right? Like, we're all born, we all have to learn, we all become independent, or maybe we don't, but we should all strive to become independent, to give back to our community, for some people to establish a family and raise children, to see our parents pass, and you know, that cycle doesn't always work in that A to B to C linear way, but as humans, we all sort of pass through those sort of phases of nature. And so for the feminines, as they perfect this sense of justice, to again go back, drop into the heart center here, investigate what it is that they are, what downloads are coming to them, and what receptivity they have towards how this justice or balancing the scales is, how they're applying it, how it's going to be applied, you know, all aspects, right? How they think about it, how they feel about it, how they act about it, and then how the environment responds to that sort of evolution for the feminines here. Okay. Moving on to the crown chakra, we have a very interesting card here. We have what appears to be Kali, the destroyer. And there's many different forms of Kali, for those of you who are interested and know some of your Vedic literature. This is Black Kali. And Black Kali and Red Kali are aspects of the same sort of three Kali family. Essentially, you've got like light Kali, Black Kali, and Red Kali. And Red Kali is the more active form. Black Kali, when she is in balance, understands how dissolution impacts the world. And that's all I will say about that. So now moving on to our crown chakra. So our crown chakra is what connects us to the universe, to all that is. It is our connection to the infinite source. And the crown chakra and the third eye work very much in tandem with bindi through the back of the head here, as sort of the crown being the sun, like the ultimate illumination, with bindi being the moon, and the third eye being where those meet. And really, this is interesting that it's here in this part of the reading, because once we hit the crown chakra, if our masculine and feminine energies are in sync and aligned, then we are able to express our divinity. The card is actually called Internal Explorer, and it says, when we stop to look outside ourselves and surrender to a soft inner focus, we have access to unlimited information and resources. Now, I do believe I'll read the rest of that card in pieces as we go. With the divine masculine side, we have the devil. The devil here in the upright. So the masculines here, with the Five of Pentacles showing up so much, the masculines need to embrace where they are acting from in their dark aspect, right? So remember how I said dissolution is an inevitable part of nature. It's part of the Trimurti, and, it's part of those three energies. It's a requirement for life. Change is a requirement for life. And in order for things to change, some things start, some things end, some things stay the same. The masculines here need to balance with this devil card how they're bound to how this transformation happens, and to make sure that they aren't moving into binding patterns, right? So the devil card is a card of bondage. It's where we're not operating in our light. It is a card of manipulation. It's essentially like the embodiment of, any of the 7 deadly sins. And so the masculines are being asked here to work with how they understand that in themselves and in others, and to make sure that they aren't embodying the negative aspects of dissolution, either because they don't have the skills to embody a more light aspect of dissolution. I'm going to pull some clarifiers here. So, what do we need to know about how the devil card is impacting the divine masculines in their connection, in their spiritual connection? Because that essentially is what our crown chakra is. It's our connection to spirit. We've got the Four of Pentacles here. So the Four of Pentacles is an interesting card, and a lot of people say that it is the minor resonance of the Ten of Pentacles, which we saw down here with the divine feminine essentially, maybe seeking this Emperor Ten of Pentacles situation. So the Four of Pentacles is holding on to something small when there's something big on offer. And everybody wants to move to the tens, right? We want to move through our journey and get past the 10 is like the point where you've either completed a lesson or you haven't grounded that lesson in, and therefore we repeat the cycle. So holding on to something lesser is what is impacting the masculines here in this devilish energy. Also, not having access to those spiritual aspects is holding the masculines here, right? So like it's functioning two ways. It's like being in the devilish deeds and the devilish acts and the devilish thoughts and ways of being are holding the masculine here, and also the masculine's holding on here is causing more of this situation. You know, Four of Pentacles is our portal card, right? And what the Four of Pentacles asks us to do is to give more in order to get more. That's the jump from the 4 to the 10. Without suggesting we do any spiritual bypassing, when I said that the 4 is the lower octave of the 10. So the masculines have to learn how to give more in order to receive more. But that giving needs to come from a place of groundedness and healing, which is something that they're struggling with the Hanged Man here. And moving back here to the third eye, where they are lacking the skills and the tools of the hermit mode. And that's because they aren't dropping down into their heart center. The Hanged Man card normally shows somebody hanging from their ankles, and it's a card of purposeful suspension in order to have personal enlightenment. However, with this Hanged Man card, what I'm feeling is, you know, just from like, if we take a look at the graphics, I don't know what you guys can see here. Sorry if I'm moving it around the screen. The masculine needs to be willing to dissolve the ego. And I do believe that that is the challenge here. So the ego that they built up around these childhood wounds, this 5 of Pentacles situation, needs to be dissolved and healed in order to grow. For the feminine energy, we have the Star reversed. So the Star reverse is a card of a lack of hope and a lack of faith. It can also mean that we believe that things that we imagine for our future that we're not going to be able to draw in. So let's pull a couple of clarifiers here to see how the feminines can go about. Actually, I'll continue reading the card. When we stop thinking with the glass ceiling of our intellect, we have access to multidimensional wisdom from the collective consciousness. Everything is there within you waiting for expression. You are invited to explore the state of flow. You are an infinitely amazing being who can access collective consciousness, especially when you surrender some control to the greater process and get out of your own way. You have the permission you felt you needed. You have the permission you felt you needed. So part of this says to me that one of the things that the feminines have been struggling with is a lack of the right permission slip. And the idea of permission slips comes from a gentleman that channels an entity called Bashar. And so you might want to have a look at that. Look up Bashar permission slip. It says, go within and explore. Wonderful gifts are waiting for you. So the challenge for the feminine here is giving themselves permission to have this sense of faith and hope in the future. What else can we say here for the feminines? I don't know why these cards are so sticky right now. Okay, we've got the Ace of Swords. I'm going to use these as a... Okay. Some sort of truth. Alright, we need a permission slip for the truth. And the way to go about getting that permission slip for the truth is to make a choice here with the Two of Pentacles in reverse. Make a choice. We've got the Love card here in reverse. Make a choice about love. We've got the Emperor card here. Ground, stabilize, build, maintain. Use your Emperor skills to become a magician. So I'm going to turn these all upright. So it's a choice. It's a choice. The truth is, it's a choice for us to be able to love, to come into that loving energy, to embrace not only the Empress energy, but to also embrace the Emperor energy in our balanced state, so that we can use the tools of the magician to create our own reality. All right, guys, that is our chakra aligning message for our Twin Flame Collective. The next reading that I'll be posting is the new moon. I believe it is on the 19th of November. So look for that around the 17th or 18th. Thanks for joining me. See you soon.